Hello RPG fans, welcome to the realm of unlimited imagination. If you're like me, you love to think about what kind of character you might play next in your favorite role-playing game. So today we're going to present the character all the way from level 1 to 20. This is going to be a Paladin Warlock combination that's meant to work using the Darkness spell. The rules are the DnD 2024 rule set. I present to you Daylunn the Peaceful Pyre. We're going to combine Warlock and Paladin together. It's a very powerful class combination. So, as presented today, this is a standalone character. You could play it in any campaign wherever you want, but I'm going to present it as part of Clan Abdituran. It's a 5-person group. I've already presented the first character in that group, Dweller Prinjara. If you want to check out the rest of the characters, please do that. As we start this build, please remember to like, subscribe, and comment. Anything that you write down below, clicking the like button, subscribing to the channel during the video, those things all help this channel get more traction, and I would really appreciate if you could do that to help me out. So the concept here is that darkness is a fun spell. If you can thrive in darkness, you can see out of the darkness, other people can't see into it. That gives you advantage on your attacks, gives them disadvantage on their attacks, and spells that need to target by seeing a certain character or square can't target because the characters can't be seen within the darkness. It's a neat, interesting thing to do. Darkness does make the group susceptible to area of effect spells. If they're all grouped together within the darkness, a fireball will still hit everything within the darkness. One of the things we need to build for our group is protection against area of effect, and you can't resist all damage in the game. So the next best thing is to have a paladin in the group to provide an aura of protection. That's going to increase everybody's saving throws by the charisma bonus of our paladin character. And that will allow it that at least when we get hit with these area of effects, we will often make the saves, usually take half damage, or potentially no damage at all for some characters. And that will help the group stay alive, even if the area of effect is an issue. There is a problem with paladins. You play a paladin, you get this aura of protection. It's statistically one of the strongest things in the game. And the battle starts and everybody runs off. The melee characters run into melee, the rogue runs off and hides, the wizards stay in the back so they don't get attacked. And the whole party is 70 feet apart and nobody's taking advantage of the aura except the paladin themselves. So it kind of goes to waste. In this group, we're going to stay in the darkness as a group, stick together, make the monsters come to us, and that's going to make very good use of this aura. So for once, people are going to stay near the paladin, and we'll be able to protect them with the aura of protection. This character is going to be able to work in darkness. It's also going to be just fine without darkness. We're going to have a secondary tactic that's going to be super strong with the character, and plenty of ways to play it even if the darkness isn't present. The roles. So when I present these characters, I give them a score based on 6 different roles within the game: damage, support, and control in combat, exploration, which is discovery and solving, and social interactions. So let's take a look at our Burning Wrath Aura tank. Hard to get all the keywords for this character in one little blurb, but that's what this character is going to be doing. We're going to be using Searing Smite to increase our damage. We're going to have the aura of protection, and we're going to build this character to withstand damage by having both high armor class and high saves. In terms of damage, we're going to put it as 6. If average damage is a 5, then this character is going to be slightly above average with the ability to do smites. For support, I'm going all the way up to a 9. This character has the aura of protection, which is one of the biggest support effects in the game. Also have lay on hands and other effects that are going to help the party. This is going to be the party's Bless character. So between the Bless spell and the aura of protection, those are massive support features. So we're giving that a 9. In terms of control, this is a tank character. Tanking is a form of control. Even if this character is not the one getting hit, it can be the character taking the damage. We'll get skills and abilities that allow us to provide retribution against characters that damage our other party members, or to take the damage for those party members eventually. In terms of exploration, this character is not really built for exploration. You could easily add some things to this character, give them different skills. We're going to make the character broader in the sense that in addition to all the other stuff we're doing, we're also going to make this a crafter character using the new crafting rules for the 2024 system. If you would prefer to make this character better in exploration or solving, you could use those skills instead of the ones that we're going to use for crafting. Influence, will give it an 8. The character won't have expertise, but as a paladin, we'll do redemption as our subclass, and we'll have a feature that's going to give us a +5 bonus to our persuasion checks, so the character is going to be very persuasive. So we'll give that an 8 out of 10 overall. Let's meet the character. Daylunn is a Shadar-Kai mercenary. He has a reputation as a loyal mercenary. It's been said that your alignment doesn't determine the actions that you take in the game. You should think of it like your actions inform everyone else what your alignment should be. So in this case, we're going to act very lawful. We're going to have these traits that make us follow the rules. Our word is our bond. We never break the contract once we agree to it. And as a redemption paladin, we're always going to look for a peaceful resolution. So this is the guy that you want to hire as your mercenary. If you want a bodyguard, if you want somebody to negotiate and you want to know that they're going to first try to get a peaceful solution, Daylunn's your merc, right? Now that said, if peace fails, he's also able to send a pretty strong message, usually send it in fire, and inspire those who dare defy his peace to do something different the next time. So with this in mind, Daylunn was hired as one of 2 bodyguards for Alaga Naseh. She's a Shadar-Kai who took a trip to this Abdituran black market outpost. However, Alaga falls ill during the trip. So while they're there, the local king decides that he's going to reclaim the compound. He sends a group of a fighting unit there to take the compound under his control. And when they come to reclaim it, Prinjara, that's the local doctor who's taken care of Alaga Naseh. We've already met Prinjara, that's the first character in the Abdituran series. So he knows they're mercenaries, and he says, hey, here's a big bag of money. Help us fend off these attackers. Join us in our fight. I'll give you all this stuff up front, and if we're successful, I'll double it. You'll get a bunch of money. It doesn't interfere at all with their current contract to protect Alaga, so they take the contract. Ultimately, they fail. The powerful wizard puts the whole group to sleep, takes them prisoner, and locks them away in a deep, dark, dwarven dungeon. While there, Daylunn dreams of fire. He wants to burn everybody. He's got this sense of justice where he needs to burn the people who imprisoned him. He wants to burn the people who broke the peace. And he wants to burn this wizard, Arjun, who defeated him and put him in jail here. The flames start to take shape in his mind. The form is a breathtakingly beautiful giant elf. She has red skin, massive dragon-like wings, and stands in a pool of flame. She promises him power to deliver fiery vengeance if he promises service. So peace first, flames forever after. This is going to be a fiend-packed warlock eventually, and she is a devil. But, maybe at this point he's convincing himself that maybe she's not, or maybe he's just a little bit delusional. It's hard to tell. So the way this character has been built, the party, you could start these characters at level 3. Some campaigns start at level 3, so the idea is they all were put in jail and they did a jailbreak together. If the characters are all starting at level 1, it's also still a fantastic idea. You put them all in jail together and they do the jailbreak, and that gets them to level 3. Anyway, you can follow that if you want, or you can play your own game your own way. Now, redemption paladins are about peace, and if you're a role player and you're strong into this idea of the character making some kind of sense and having logic for the decisions that they make, some people struggle to put a warlock and a paladin together, saying, okay, how can you do evil and be good? And for me, it's not a problem at all. Redemption paladins are all about peace. The tenets for the subclass, the spells, the abilities, persuasion, calming emotions, avoiding a fight. However, even within the subclass, you can see that once the fight is joined, there's this idea of justice and retribution that comes out in the class. Now, the Fiend-Pact Warlock doesn't force you to break the peace. You can still always look for peace first. It's just when peace doesn't work, then you're a vengeful, vindictive, fiery warlock that's going to use your fiery vengeance to put down anybody who breaks that code. You can be very lawful. You don't have to necessarily be good or evil. So I don't think of this character as a devil on one shoulder, angel on the other. You know, you forged a pact, so you're a bad person. Well, you know, the pact gave me power, so that, you know, I'm using it for good. I don't see that needing to be an argument that this character has. It's very simple. The paladin part comes first. I'm looking for peace. I'm sure we can work this out. Let's not fight. Then when the second part happens and that doesn't work and the fight is joined, die in fire. Okay? So I see this character, no problem. They've embraced, accepted, they know that they've given a promise to a darker power. They're fine with it. And it's only to be used when peace has failed. Now, if the character just starts charging off and dealing damage before they even talk, then that's not in the spirit of the character. So if you're a role player, that's how you can align these things and make it all work. Pact of the Blade. This is so strong in the combination of Paladin and Warlock, it allows you to use your Charisma as the stat that you use for your weapon. You can only have one weapon bonded at a time, but now it's simply a bonus action. You touch a different weapon and it becomes your bonded weapon. So if you want to have multiple weapon masteries and trade between weapons, you do have to use your bonus action to do that in order to use this feature that makes Charisma your stat for weapon. What that does for a Paladin, you want Charisma to be your main stat if you want a strong aura of protection. So by making Charisma also your attack stat, then you have the best of everything, right? You have good attack, good damage, and also good spell DCs that come with having a high spell casting trait and high aura of protection numbers by having high Charisma bonus. And just be aware that aura of protection is one of those really S-tier abilities in this game. If you look at statistics and advantage and rolling dice and success and failure, as your levels progress, the difficulty classes get harder. So your saves go up, but the difficulty classes also go up in a system that's meant to keep it kind of linear, where you have a good chance to succeed, but also a chance to fail and have the dice tell a certain story. When you come in and you just add a +5 from the aura of protection, it really breaks those mechanical statistics. If you needed a 10 or better to save, now you only need a 5 or better to save. The amount of numbers that fail that save has been reduced so significantly. And if you can also get advantage on that roll, these even challenging saves become quite difficult to fail. So Aura of Protection is so strong because it's outside of the normal game statistics in a way that that makes it very powerful. So suffice to say, if you don't know math or you don't even care, that's the logic to it, but it is one of the most powerful things in the game. So this build is going to be able to maintain their attack stats through Charisma, power the aura, get high spell save DCs, get full benefits from class abilities that trigger from their spellcasting stat. It's one of the best combinations in the game for multi-classing. Ability scores, we're going to have a 15 strength. We need to wear plate armor, and if you're going to wear plate armor, then you have to have 15 strength. We're going to max out our charisma, get good constitution. You need at least 10 in dexterity. If you have an 8 dexterity, heavy armor says you get nothing from your dexterity bonus, but if you have a 8 in dexterity, you do lose 1 armor class, so you do have to have at least 10 in your AC so you don't lose AC with your heavy armor. And then I'm going to shift some points over into wisdom because I'm not satisfied having an 8 wisdom either. We're going to be an entertainer background, so with the equipment, we're going to take the entertainer's kit. Otherwise, we won't be able to afford our bagpipes. Bagpipes has been a meme. Trent Monk put out a video a long time ago that basically said if you don't play bagpipes, you can't be a friend. We might want him to be a friend someday, so let's play the bagpipes so we can get along. Anyway, you can play whatever instrument you want. It's your character. I'm just doing it because it's funny. 161 gold remain by chainmail, shield, pike, quarterstaff, backpack. 66 gold pieces left over to buy whatever you want. I like the idea that maybe this character doesn't come with a bedroll and food and all the things that they need. Instead, spend that money on You know, you do need a holy symbol as well, an amulet, something like that. But you can also buy, a bunch of stuff, like rope, chain, chalk, just miscellaneous things that the party might need. And then just expect that you're going to be able to play your musical instruments, be an entertainer, and entertain your way into a good meal or a good bed. So I think that's kind of a fun way to play this character. We're going to go into the D&D character builder, and I'm going to demonstrate how to build this character all the way from level 1 to 20 for people who might not be familiar with the character builder. And it's also a good way to not forget to mention things that we might need to put into the builder. We'll give this character the name Daylunn, put him in as a paladin, give him athletics and persuasion as their starting skill set. Athletics is just generically good in the game. We're a strong character anyway, so that's going to be good for the character. Persuasion, of course, is our charisma kicking in, and it's one of the primary things we're going to want to do with this character. For weapon masteries, we're going to take a quarterstaff for topple. That allows you to potentially knock things prone. And we're going to take a pike for pushing, which could be convenient to move things around in the battlefield. Those weapons are also very cheap, so when we're adding equipment, we can add those for low cost. Bless, we're going to take Bless 100%, no questions asked. This is the character that's going to be casting Bless for the party. Like I said about game statistics, Bless is another spell. It comes on top of the current game statistics, give you an additional D4 to your hit rolls and saves. And again, those things change the game statistics in a meaningful way, and we really want to take advantage of that. So this will be the Bless character for the group. If you're casting Bless, always cast Bless on yourself. When you have to make a concentration check, you want to make sure that that extra D4 applies to you so that you don't lose the concentration of the spell. Searing Smite's going to be our signature move. That's going to be our Smite spell that we're going to use most often. We do get one free Smite as a paladin that we'll use up every day, but when we used a leveled spell, Searing Smite is good. So it only does a d6 extra fire damage when you hit, but if that enemy stays alive until its turn, it takes another guaranteed 1d6 fire damage at the start of its turn before it gets to make the Constitution save to see if it is able to end the spell. So if it's not able to end the spell, then it keeps burning for 1d6. So the damage potential of this is pretty high because you get an initial 2d6 in addition to your damage, and then you keep getting a d6 for every turn that it doesn't make it save. It's maybe not the best thing in the whole game, but it's you need a signature move. And this is pretty good for the party, and it works with everything that we're going to do, so I like it. Wrathful Smite is also good. We'll take that the next time we get a Paladin spell. Note that this doesn't work in darkness. They have the Frightened condition, which means that they're scared and they have to run away if they fail a Wisdom save. However, if you're in darkness, as is the tactic for this party, they won't be able to see you. You have to be within line of sight of the character. If they can't see within the darkness, then they're not really frightened, so it doesn't have much effect. We're still going to take this, though, not right at first level, but next time we get a spell spot, we're going to take it, and that'll allow us to frighten things when darkness is not active or, when we need to frighten something. All right, easy spell selections here at level 1. For the background here, we're going to take that entertainer background. We'll take the bagpipes as our primary instrument just for the memes. We'll take other instruments here, a drum, a lute, and a horn. You can pick whatever you want. If you want some crazy instruments, if you want normal ones, however you want to roleplay the character, doesn't really matter that much. We'll take a +1 in strength, and we'll take a +2 in charisma. In terms of character details, you can fill this out. If you're building the character yourself, I still suggest that you fill these out because it'll help you get to know what your character's like. We're a Shadar-Kai. We're going to be medium height, medium build, medium everything. For personality traits, I like to do these things where I give like a couple word description and then I kind of describe exactly how that's going to work out for the character. So peaceful priority. Daylunn is always going to look for persuasion and diplomacy, and he's going to have a very real value for the lives of other creatures, and he's going to always try to get through things without swinging weapons. But vengeful, so those who break the peace or those who won't agree with his persuasion tactics, are going to be subject to vengeful wrath of flames. He's crafty. This is going to be a crafty character. He's not crafting at level 1, but he will be by level 3, so we're going to give him the crafty thing. Tries to keep his hands busy, keep his mind occupied. Maybe there's something in his history that makes him want to keep busy. Entertaining. He likes to wear heavy armor, but he also likes to do acrobatics. Entertainer gives you the acrobatic skill, which is not going to go well with heavy armor, but maybe he has the inspiration that someday he's going to do a complete backflip and full plate while playing the lute. So until he manages to accomplish that, he's still going to get some pretty good laughs when he tries to do these kinds of things. So we'll give him some ties to the clan Abdituran. For flaws, we'll put in 1 flaw. We'll give him flame fever. So he's going to light things on fire and be using wrathful smite on characters. And maybe in this case he actually likes it. He likes the smell, the sound of burning flesh. And maybe that's why he's given over his promise to a fiendish warlock pact. So we'll give him that flaw. If you want a different flaw or no flaw, it's all irrelevant. But if you build a flaw like that, there's some point in the game where you're trying to intimidate somebody and you just like wrathful smite them and the rest of the party all get upset. And, you can use it at some times to sort of build a little more character, a little more unpredictability into your character. Some people like that. I like to have at least 1 flaw on a character when I build it. All right, we're going to pick for race, Shadar-Kai. This is from Mordenkainen's Monsters of the Multiverse. For language, we're going to pick that sign language. We've agreed that all the Abdituran characters are going to have sign language. This is simply because if you're in darkness and the characters want to talk to each other and they're hiding in the darkness trying to ambush somebody, making sound doesn't keep you in stealth, right? You can be in the darkness, things cannot see you, but they can still hear you if you're talking. So by taking sign language, we then have a way to be in the darkness and also silent, and the group can communicate amongst themselves, no problem. So everybody's taking sign language. For creature type, we're a humanoid. We're also considered an elf. Size is medium, speed is 30, nothing to see here. Blessing of the Raven Queen is just an overpowered feature. It's basically Misty Step. You get to teleport 30 feet to an unoccupied space you can see. Notice the you can see thing, people can't teleport into your darkness because they can't see those spaces. So remember that if anybody tries to Misty Step into the middle of the group, unless they can actually see the space, they can't trigger the spell. You gain all expended uses on a long rest, and you can do it a proficiency number times per day. And it is not a spell, so unlike Misty Step that's actually a leveled spell and limits what you can do with the rest of your turn, this is just a feature where you can do Misty Step and still cast a spell. And after you do it, you're resistant to all damage for the rest of the turn, so it's really a ridiculous ability. But it's on the character that we want, so we're going to take it and be proud of it. Dark Vision, Fey Ancestry that gives us advantage on charmed effects. Keen Senses gives us free perception. We're resistant to necrotic damage. And then here's what makes Shadar-Kai such a ridiculously good crafter. You don't need to sleep. You can't be put to sleep. After you finish you can finish a long rest in 4 hours. When you finish a long rest, you can become proficient in any 2 weapons or tools that you choose. And in this case, we can choose proficiencies with whatever we want to craft. So if we want to craft using smithing tools, if we have those tools available to us, we can take the smith's tools here and be proficient in them. We can take woodcarver's tools. So this, for example, when I first set it up, if you want to make arrows, for example, smith's tools and woodcarver tools will make arrows. But then I rethink it and I say, you know what, right at first, tinker tools might be the thing that we want because, we might want to make other tools. So, okay, but you can change it every time you rest. It's ridiculously powerful. Ability scores, so here we're going to fill in that 15 Charisma, 14 Constitution, take that 10 in Dexterity. And I start out here by maxing out Strength, and that gives us a nice round 16 for a +3 to our Strength skills. But I really want more Wisdom, so I come in here and I knock that down to a 14 in Strength. With the +1 that we get from our background, that takes it to 15. That's still going to qualify us for the heavy armor. And I don't think we really need the 16 in strength, so I'm fine taking a couple points out of there. I really want our wisdom to be 10. I would love it to be higher, but I'm not willing to take constitution away. If you were, you could take it down to, let's say, 12 constitution and put even more in wisdom. But this is how I like to set it up for what we're going to do with the character. Now let's go into equipment, and at first I think I'm just going to take the money and stock up on stuff. And then I remember bagpipes cost like 50 gold on their own, and you can actually get them for free as part of your entertainer starting kit, so we're going to do that. And that way we can have bagpipes starting out. If you don't like the bagpipes, take whatever instrument you want. We're going to take a chain here, chain mail, shield. The chain is just because this character might want to take prisoners and get information out of them, so have a chain to chain them up. We'll grab an emblem as our holy symbol, a backpack, the pike, quarterstaff. You could just make any stick into a quarterstaff. You could pick up a broom, take off the broom head, and it's a quarterstaff. So quarterstaffs can be made out of anything. Here's that chain, and you can wrap a chain around an unwilling creature and give it the restrained. Okay, so then we'll take a look at the character here at level 1. We've got these 5 skills, so 2 from our background, 2 from our class, and then perception for free from Shadar-Kai. The saves are already looking okay at level 1. We've got +2 to our con, and decent wisdom and charisma saves because we're trained in those. At level 2, we're going to come in here and we're going to add that Warlock. That gives us Pact to the Blade. That lets us use our charisma with the weapon. And remember, if you want to trade between weapons, you do have to use that bonus action to make the other weapon into your Pact weapon. Now for cantrips in the Warlock, we have to, I think there's only 2 choices here at low levels, and that is taking Eldritch Blast, which we're going to want eventually, and taking True Strike, which is going to be better than Eldritch Blast for at least until level 5 with this character. So let's take True Strike. That's going to allow us to use a weapon and cast this spell. Then the attack with that weapon becomes a charisma-based attack. Allows us to use our charisma stat as the attack and damage bonus for that weapon. And in that way we can take something like a short bow or a light crossbow and use it with our charisma stat. So that's really nice. For first level spells, we're going to take Hellish Rebuke. Maybe we'll use it, maybe we won't. We're pretty much going to be using our spell slots for Bless. We could also take Detect Magic here. There's things like Tasha's Hideous Laughter, but that's a concentration spell, so we really can't do any other concentration spells than Bless. Detect Magic is a ritual, so we'll add this ritual to our book. The likelihood that we're going to use Hellish Rebuke is pretty low because we're going to cast Bless with our Pact slot every time we can, and then use our Paladin slots for more Blesses or for Searing Smite. Alright, then we'll go over here to equipment, and we're not going to add anything for level 2. We're still going to use basic gear. Then we'll come out here and we'll make our quarterstaff and our pike a Pact weapon. I forgot to add a short bow or a crossbow here, but you could do that at this level to use with your True Strike, and you could also make those Pact weapons, and that'll empower the charisma bonus to allow you to use those weapons as charisma-based weapons. All right, so let's go back to the presentation and let's talk through what this looks like in terms of role play for your Warlock at level 2. Pact of the Blade. Remember that we can change with the bonus action. Mostly we'll be using a quarterstaff with 2 hands. We have rules that prevent us from casting spells with our hands full until we get the Warcaster feat. So for low levels, basically having the quarterstaff in 2 hands, the way I rule it at my table, you have 2 hands on the weapon, but then when you want to cast a spell, you can take 1 hand off, cast your spell, put both hands back on the weapon, and in that way you can use the quarterstaff 2-handed, do a little bit more damage, end the combat sooner, or cast spells if you want to. If you've got a hard monster that you need to fight, and it's going to last several rounds, you can put on that shield to increase your armor class. You won't be able to cast many of your spells while you have the shield in one hand and the quarterstaff in the other. You can put away your quarterstaff, but remember you put it away one turn, take it out the next, so you would be able to do spell casting intermittently with a weapon and without a weapon. Hellish Rebuke does have a somatic component, so you can't use that unless you're got a free hand. At level 2, for out of combat, we're mostly an entertainer. With the entertainer background, you can give inspiration to characters equal to your proficiency bonus every time you take a long or short rest. So at the beginning of the day, you can inspire 2 people. The first time you take a short rest, if people haven't used their inspiration, you can inspire other people. But anyway, every time you take a rest, you can give some people heroic inspiration. Heroic inspiration just allows people to reroll rolls that they didn't like, so that's a pretty powerful ability to have. And you get it powered up for free. I like these little wings that we have here, so I was trying to think of like what might be the characteristic thing for Searing Smite. I love to imagine really fantastical, cool effects in the game. It's a game of imagination. There's no limit to what you could say that your character does. So when he does his Searing Smite, these wings come out of his back, burning wings, and it has absolutely no effect in the game, right? It doesn't create fire, it doesn't create light, there's no heat. It's just an image that I liked for the idea of making the character look cool when they're doing Searing Smite. Your Searing Smite can look however you want it to look, but this looked pretty good in the image. In social settings, you're going to have pretty high rolls, so you can assist other people who are doing this. This party has a lot of charisma characters, of course, because a lot of warlocks just use Devil's Sight and see in the darkness. But yeah, so you can help with that in social settings or be the one making the rolls. Level 2 in combat, your first turn of combat, you're going to cast Bless. Even if there's a turn where things have come in and you're under attack and there's a monster right in front of you, why would you cast Bless if you might get hit next turn, etc., etc., etc.? Don't overthink it. It's your job to put Bless on the party, put Bless on yourself, and 2 other characters here at first. Eventually, we'll cast it at level 2 and get 4 characters. There'll be 1 character in the group who really doesn't care that much about Bless, so 4 is going to be enough. But bless those characters early on. That's going to give the better damage dealers more chances to end the fight quickly, and everybody in the party more chances to save. So it's important that you get that going quickly. Pranjar and Daylunn are both tanks if there's multiple enemies positioned to protect the rest of your group. The Warlock pack slot is good for the Bless spell because you get it back on a short rest. At level 2, we'll get a second Warlock pack slot, and that'll become even more flexible. But use those slots up first for your first Bless and your first Smite, and then you can regenerate them on a short rest. Use your Paladin slots for other Searing Smites or whatever you might need in combat. Occasional Hellish Rebuke if you need to end a combat quickly and just do some retaliation damage. Most enemies at low level don't make it worth casting these spells. You'll use a Searing Smite, and the damage from the Searing Smite will be enough to kill it on contact. So maybe you want to waste a spell just to make sure that the character dies on your turn. But it's not going to be often at low levels that you'll get multiple rounds of the burning effect. So in that case, eventually you'll be better off just doing the Holy Smite, dealing the damage up front. But later levels, that'll be the thing that we want to do for tougher characters. Ranged attack could be a short bow. The reason I like a short bow, even though the damage is low on it, it does have the Vex. So you can do Vex chaining, which is you do True Strike, you hit with the short bow, then on your next turn you have advantage. So if you don't have darkness or you don't have another way to get advantage, you can simply generate it with your weapon. I would have Topple and Vex short bow as my 2 weapon masteries at this level. But if you like push better or you don't want to do it, then it's up to you for your character. Remember that you can't use things like a longbow or a heavy crossbow. Just like big weapons require strength, these heavy ranged weapons require 13 dexterity to you have disadvantage if you don't have 13 dexterity with a heavy ranged weapon. So they're out of reach for us. Searing Smite does not by definition cause light. So darkness has this feature where it cancels spells of 2nd level or lower that generate light. And just be aware, Searing Smite sounds like fire might create light, but it doesn't specifically create light. There's another Smite spell that we'll look at later at level 2 that does specifically create light, and that would interfere with the darkness or be canceled outright by darkness at level 2. So Searing Smite doesn't create any problems with darkness. So taking hits at level 2, we've already got good armor class. We're a heavy armor wearer. We can wear a shield, no problem. Saves are already pretty good. Damage is okay. Against single boss targets, Searing Smite has great statistical damage potential. So we'll drop a couple Searing Smites on the big bad end boss for level 2, which is not saying much, but it's there if we need it. Roleplay at level 2. So our character now has completely accepted the aid of the fiery figment of his imagination. First he might have thought it was delusion, but now he knows, he understands. This is a willing thing. He's accepted it. He's accepted this pact with this fiery, shadowy devil. As a group enters a room, and again, these characters are made to do like the first couple levels as a prison break, so I'm sticking with that story, right? So on their way out of prison, they come into the room, there's a bunch of guards. And whereas most parties are going to want to ambush these guards and just take them out, Daylunn's not going to be willing to do that, right? So they're going to enter the room, and he's going to start talking. And if you are a really strong role player, you may even spend the surprise round telling them to surrender. We're just friends. We're passing through. This is going to go badly if you try to cry out. If you're trying to fight us, don't do it. And maybe sometimes the GM will go for it. Maybe they'll make a roll, and maybe you'll be able to persuade those guards to just sit there and not fight you. Maybe it's not worth it for them. Something's gone wrong. Everybody's out of their cells. Maybe the prison guards go, okay, you know what? We'll catch you again later. Just go. But if the fight is joined, then he's ready to go and get in there and start dropping smites. Level 3, we got to go to Warlock 2 to pick up Devil's Sight. That's what's going to allow us to see in magical darkness. We're also going to be able to be a crafter. I'll show you how that's going to work. Then it's a straight line from there to the Aura of Protection. So we're going to go all the way to level 8 by taking 2nd level Warlock, and then up to 6 levels of Paladin. And that'll, at level 8, make us Paladin 6, Warlock 2. We're going to pick up the Oath of Redemption along the way and the Warcaster feat. So let's get in there and watch the build and see this taking place. All right, let's get in and get our 2nd Warlock level real quick here. Warlock level 2, class features, invocations. We're going to take that Devil's Sight, of course. That's part of our thing that we need to do to get along with this party, right? See in darkness. Devil's Sight lets you see out to 120 feet in normal, dim light, darkness, magical darkness. So our character is level 3, and we haven't created any features yet that give it a soft taunt. And I know there are some content creators who would have you believe that you're not a tank unless you can do this thing where you give enemies disadvantage if they're not attacking you. But in my experience, in actual gameplay, that's not a very realistic thing. It looks good on paper, but your positioning determines more about whether or not you're tanking hits than whether or not you have these soft taunt features. This character is going to be able to do things that will make the GM want to target you. For example, once we get our Paladin subclass, if the enemy goes and hits one of our casters for 20 damage, we're going to be able to use our reaction and deal that 20 damage straight back to the monster. The GM's not going to want to target other characters that are easier targets, because then the monster's just going to take whatever damage right back. And in most combats, killing the enemies more quickly is going to be more effective than whether or not you prevent the damage to your own characters. We're also, later on, we're going to have the ability, if we want to, instead, to take damage for other characters. So if a monster hits somebody else in our party, we'll be able to take that damage. It's actually going to have great synergy with our class to do that. So we don't need a soft taunt to be a tank. We're going to be able to take damage for other people in our party or provide great retribution. So for those who are looking for eventually some kind of soft taunt with a character that we call a tank, not going to happen. There's plenty of ways to be a tank without this illusion of the soft taunt being the solution. All right, so here's what we're going to do with this character with our other invocation. We're going to take the skilled feature, And that feat is going to allow us to take 3 skills, any 3 skills or tools. And for this character, because we're Shadar-Kai, we can take any tool we want for crafting. All we need is that Arcana skill to empower us to be a crafter. We couldn't get it with our starting kit as a paladin, but we can get it here. I'm also going to take stealth. We're wearing heavy armor. You get disadvantage if you're in heavy armor trying to roll stealth. If this party is in darkness and they're trying to do an ambush, your ability to stay hidden is dependent on sound as well as sight. So while things can't see you in the darkness, they can certainly hear you. And if you're a noisy heavy armor wearer, you might be the limiting factor on whether or not the group can stay stealthy. Getting proficiency in stealth takes the edge off of that, gives you less likely chances of failing. You can also get mithril armor on this character maybe someday and look to lose the disadvantage on your stealth. And in that case, then you're trained in the skill. So I like doing that. We're also going to take deception. That's going to play well with our high charisma. And you never know when you might need to deceive an NPC to get yourself out of a sticky situation. We'll also get magical cunning at this level. And that's going to allow us to, once a day for 1 minute, get one of our packed slots back. And basically the way that works, if you're out of packed slots and you really want to get that slot back for your blessed spell in the next combat, but your party's not going to be able to take a short rest, you can just take that minute, get a packed slot back. It's pretty convenient. For spells here, we get another spell, and we are going to go down and take a look at this Unseen Servant spell. And Unseen Servant has some interesting synergy with darkness. This is a little creature, invisible, shapeless, mindless, that performs simple tasks that you command until the spell ends. On each of your turns, as a bonus action, you can command it to move up to 15 feet, interact with an object. It can perform simple tasks that a human can do. So you give it a couple things to carry. You make it move 30, 40, 60 feet out, and then you tell it to drop an object, make a noise, attract the attention of the people in the next room. They start coming to investigate. You make it move back, and then drop another item, make another noise. Now they come around the corner and you ambush them out of the safety of your darkness. It's a nice little way to bait people into your spell. And you also get an Unseen Servant to clean things, iron your clothes, maybe play a simple background beat, put your drum on the ground, have the Unseen Servant play it so that you're free up to play your bagpipes. Who knows? Anyway, we're going to take Unseen Servant. It's not a concentration spell. It lasts an hour. Our concentration is taken up by Bless, so we like spells that we can use that have nothing to do with concentration. All right, so at level 3, I am going to go into equipment, and for this character, we're going to go ahead and give ourselves our first +1 weapon. And our signature thing here is going to be the quarterstaff. The reason I like the quarterstaff on this character, we're an entertainer, right? We get the acrobatics skill. So the idea of a quarterstaff acrobatics kind of goes together. I like it. I think it's sort of flavorful for this character. It's not the best one-handed weapon. Topple is cool, but we're not just here for the topple. We're not trying to power game the topple build. So the quarterstaff is just kind of the signature weapon for this character because I like the aesthetic, the feel, and it's good enough for what we want to do. So here I remembered to add that short bow, and again, we could be having quarterstaff and short bow as our 2 weapon proficiencies, allowing us to do Vex with the short bow when we need to be at range, and topple with the quarterstaff at close range. Here we can go in, make that short bow a packed weapon. Now you can't actually ever make a short bow your packed weapon for real, right? You can only do that with melee weapons. It specifies it in packed to the blade. It's not packed to the bow. So, but this represents what it looks like, what to hit and damage would be using True Strike. So that's what we want. All right, so we're up to armor class 18 pretty easily. We don't even have plate mail yet on this character. This is still with the original chain starting armor and a shield. But yeah, hit points are looking okay. Armor's okay. Here at level 4, we're going to take our second level in Paladin, get a fighting style. And for sure here we're going with blind fighting. There's a reason for that we'll talk about here pretty quickly. So other fighting styles are available, but we are going to go into equipment. and we're going to grab an Eversmoking bottle. Now what the Eversmoking bottle does, you uncork it, and it instantly creates a cloud of thick smoke, 60-foot emanation. For people who have played the game, 60 foot is absolutely massive. It will cover almost any map. The emanation rules now make this 125 feet across. It's absolutely gigantic. Creates an area of heavy obscurement. Heavy obscurement, by definition, if people are trying to see through heavy obscurement, they have the blinded condition. They cannot see. They have disadvantage against things that they're trying to attack. They have advantage against things that can't see them. So if there's no skills and there's no abilities, and it's just two creatures fighting normally, they swing, they hit with normal hits, not advantage or disadvantage. If you add heavy obscurement, it becomes the same thing. You're trying to hit a creature, it can't see you, so you have advantage because you're hidden. You have disadvantage because you can't see them. The disadvantage and advantage cancel out, and it's normal hits. That's the way it is for darkness. It's the way it is for when you're fighting in smoke. We took blind fighting. If we're within 10 feet, we can see even if we're blinded. Heavy obscurement, blinded condition, we ignore blinded. That means we can see anything within 10 feet. We pop the smoke, we walk up. It's as if nothing happened. We have advantage, they have disadvantage. Very powerful. Once released, the smoke is not magical. So let's go back to our presentation and let's take a look at how powerful popping smoke really is. Okay, the Eversmoking bottle. We're going to make sure we've got 5 people in the group. 3 of them are going to be Shadar-Kai crafters. 2 of them are going to be dwarves. The Shadar-Kai will try to have some kind of blind fighting, make them able to fight in the smoke. And the 2 dwarves will have tremor sense. Tremor sense works also in the smoke. When darkness won't work, darkness might get dispelled. For example, there's a paladin ability. You pull out your sword, you empower it with your divine ability, and it sheds light in a 20-foot radius. Darkness cancels spells. This is not a spell. It's a magical effect, but it's not a spell. Darkness doesn't interact with it, and when you have bright light within the darkness gets lit up. So there are circumstances and things in the game where darkness just isn't going to work. Either things see through it, or the enemies have some way to dispel it, get rid of it, whatever. So in that case, we could pop the smoke. Blind fighting does work. You can see anything within 10 feet. Here within the rules, you can see specifically it says, even if you have the blinded condition or are in darkness, you can still see. So as long as you're within 10 feet, no problem. If we look at tremor sense, a creature with tremor sense can pinpoint the location. That means that we can pinpoint anything within the smoke. Within our tremor sense, dwarves get stone cunning as a bonus action, gain tremor sense 60 feet for 10 minutes. But you must be on stone, so this is limited. But if you look at how often the party's in stone, if you're in a dungeon, you're in a cave, you're underground, you're on a mountain, all of these are touching stone. So it could be that, quite a bit of the time this stone cunning is going to be enough and it's going to work. And again, because it says you can pinpoint the location, that means you know where it's at. You have advantage, they have disadvantage. And True Sight doesn't work. Eversmoking bottle can blind True Sight. True Sight lets you see in darkness, see invisible, see through illusions, see through transformations, see into the ethereal plane. It doesn't let you see through heavy obscurement. So to summarize, uncork the bottle, flood the area with heavy obscurement. All 5 members of the group can get into close combat and be functional within 10 feet. Gain all the advantages, advantage on your attacks, disadvantage for people attacking you, and assuming that you're on a stone surface. Smoke is not easily dispelled, and in the description for Eversmoking bottle it says if they have a wind spell, it takes 1 minute to disperse the smoke. This stuff is nasty. It also has no limitation on time. It doesn't say that the bottle works for an hour a day. Your GM will probably house rule the bottle to work for an hour a day because you could literally uncork it, clear an entire dungeon, wait for the smoke to clear, and then go back and loot everything. It can be pretty dumb in the wrong circumstances. So don't power game it. I would suggest that you don't do that, but use it as a backup. Beholders, for example, can use an anti-magic field, and that would stop you from using the bottle in the first place. But this smoke trick is not just limited to the bottle. You can also have smoke grenades. So a character like this, grab up some smoke grenades. If a beholder gets the drop on you and bam, you're fighting a beholder, just drop smoke. Drop smoke. There's nothing the beholder can do about it. It can't see through the smoke. Half of the stuff that it needs to do to target can't be targeted. It can't dispel it with its main eye, and you just own a beholder. You heard it here. We can also look at crafting. Let's talk about how good crafting is for this character while we're here. When we add Arcana, we can have any craft skill from Shadar-Kai. Let's take a look at the elf features as well. If we're on an adventure that takes 12 hours, we could do 8 hours of crafting, 4 hours of meditation. Assuming that you have 24-hour days in your world, you can craft every single day that you're adventuring. Adventure for 12 hours, craft for 8, meditate for 4. It doesn't say that crafting is a strenuous activity. You can craft and watch. You can do this. Rules as written, I don't see any reason. If you have the Arcana skill, you have proficiency in the tools that you need, and the tools are available and on you, you can craft. Crafting doesn't say that you need a forge to smith. It doesn't say that you need a workshop to use woodworking. It just says you need the skill and you need the tools. So Shadar-Kai can craft every day, and they can craft anything by changing their abilities every time they rest. Pretty fantastic. Making them, I believe, the best crafting class in the entire game. All right, so let's lock down this Eversmoking bottle, and let's move on with the character here. The bottle doesn't take attunement either. It's just an item that you can carry around on you. And the balance for that item is basically, it's supposed to be advantages and drawbacks. You pop the smoke, your characters leave. It's like a smoke bomb and run away. But in this case, we drop the smoke and then we just dominate. And back to that soft taunt feature again, this is why we're never going to need a soft taunt, because every enemy is going to have disadvantage pretty much whenever we want them to anyway. So having a soft taunt to give them disadvantage is completely irrelevant. So now I've closed the loop on that discussion, finally. All right, so shield +1 here, Eversmoking bottle. And shield +1 is going to add our armor class. And we're going to get plate mail. So I think it's fair that by 4th level we could go ahead and grab plate armor. Not magical plate armor, just plate armor. It's really expensive in the game, but now we've got plate mail on. We'll take Paladin 3. That's going to get us our subclass. It's going to give us our Channel Divinity here. We get Channel Divinity is so much better in 2024, my goodness, y'all. We get to use it twice a day now as a Paladin, and in addition, 1 expended use is recharged every time we take a short rest. So we can use features for Channel Divinity freely and still expect to have a backup when we need it. For our spells, I would give this spell list a 5 out of 10. This is all the peace stuff, right? Calm Emotions can be really good situationally. Having it on your spell list is nice. Hold Person, put them to sleep, counterspell things, Hypnotic Pattern. It's all about stopping the fight, right? Counterspell, don't cast that spell. Hypnotic Pattern, everybody go to sleep. Calm Emotions, Hold Person, Resilient Sphere, Stone Skin, protect me from your damage. I like it. It's very flavorful. Overall, the spells can be pretty good. Counterspell took a huge nerf. The fact that if you do successfully counterspell, it no longer costs the caster their spell slot, I think that's the thing to me. I don't mind the mechanics or any of how it works, but the fact that it doesn't use up the spell slot anymore, I think, to me, made it much worse. Because that's what you want it for. You want it. You want to be able to use up an enemy caster's good spell slots and stop the spells. But anyway, it's still worth casting. It can delay the inevitable, stop people from dispelling your darkness. So it's good to have, and we'll eventually be able to make use of it. Channel Divinity features here. Rebuke the Violent, Emissary of Peace. Emissary of Peace gives us a +5 to a persuasion check for 10 minutes, which if we're going into a social setting and we know that we're going to need that charisma check, we could channel that, get a +5. It's pretty fantastic. And again, we're going to get a use of our Channel Divinity back. We've got 2 uses every day. So we should always have this up and available when we need to be an emissary of peace. Rebuke the violence. When you use your channel divinity to rebuke those who use violence, immediately after an attacker who's within 30 feet of you deals damage with an attack against a creature other than you, you can use your reaction to force the attacker to make a wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, they take damage equal, or on a save, it's half. Save for half is critical here. So let's say it has to be an attack. So let's say somebody fireballs the party. You can't use this because that's not an attack. But if something hits another one of your party members, again, let's use that 20 damage example. Somebody hits the party member for 20 damage. You trigger this. It does 20 back or 10 on a saving throw. The DC for this character is going to be high. Our spellcasting trait is our main stat. So we're going to have good DC. And, if they fail to save, they take a bunch of damage back. And inflicting the dead condition or the unconscious condition is the most powerful thing in the game. So let them hit your other party members and then just smash them back for it. Again, you can use this twice in a combat. You'll get 1 charge back every time you do a short rest. So this is probably where we'll use our channel divinity the most. Just dealing retribution damage. I love it for this character. And I would make Rebuke the Violent be very fiery on this character. It's going to be a fiery, devilish rebuke. Rawr. All right, so we picked up a couple more spells, and at this level, let's look to this Wrathful Smite. Wrathful Smite causes the frightened condition. Again, if you're in darkness, it breaks line of sight, so things that are frightened can't be frightened of you if they can't see you. But if we don't have access to the darkness, or there may be a opportunity for us to use this and smite something and make it afraid. So situationally, if darkness or smoke don't work, we can still make them afraid. Sanctuary is also a spell that we can cast that's not concentration. It lasts a minute, and as long as a creature within that effect doesn't do an attack, and there's one character in this group that's going to be an extremely good target for Sanctuary, and if anybody wants to attack them, they have to make a wisdom save to even do the attack roll. So that can be pretty fun, situationally useful. We'll add it to our list. If you like other things better, feel free to pick a different spell. But that's what I like. It's going to be able to protect our wizard, as long as he's not casting any spells that do harm. Okay, here at level 5, character's looking pretty good. Saves are coming along nicely. We've got 42 hit points, good armor class. Let's add the 6th level of Paladins. You know what? Let's talk about Bastions first. Level 5 is Bastion level. I've done a video on Bastions. You can watch that and get more idea of how Bastions work. We're going to look at Bastion, and again, I'm just going to suggest what works for this character. You can do your own thing. I think we would want a sacristy to make powerful holy water and a trophy room for the research feature at level 9, and that leaves us free to pick whatever we want at level 5. This character's a crafter. Having a workshop and a smithy gives us the ability to claim help whenever we're at home. So we're going to take a workshop and a smithy for their interactions with crafting, and we're going to be satisfied with that. All right, so let's take our 4th level of Paladin. We get our first feat here at 6th level. Warcaster, it's just too good. It's going to get our charisma to 18. It's going to set us up for concentration checks with advantage. We can now do spells with somatic components with our hands full, and gives us that charisma bump to take us to 18. And it also allows us, if we get an attack of opportunity, we can now cast a spell. We have True Strike. True Strike at level 5 is already adding a d6 of damage. So if you get an attack of opportunity with your quarterstaff, always use True Strike because it will add a little bit of damage, and you can do it with Warcaster, so why not? We're going to add a Cloak of Protection at this level. If adding armor class and saves is something good for the character, then let's make that our first little trinket item here. We've got a quarterstaff and a shield +1, and now we have a Cloak of Protection. It's going to bring our armor class up to 22, and our saves are going to benefit from that as well. +3 on con save. It's still not everything we want it to be, but remember, we do have Bless, and we have advantage on our concentration, so we should not be losing Bless very often anymore. All right, 50 hit points, looking pretty okay at level 6 here. Right, for level 7, take another Paladin level. We'll go to level 5. And Paladin level 5 is going to give us extra attack. We can attack twice per turn when we use the attack action instead of once. It's also going to give us access to otherworldly steeds by using the Find Steed spell. We're always going to have that prepared. You can cast it once a day without expending a spell slot. Let's take a look at that spell. It's a 2nd level conjuration. You can upcast it. It creates an otherworldly steed that has a stat block that's listed here. It's going to be large size. I don't think there's any way to make it a different size. Large steeds often don't fit in dungeons, and sometimes your DM is probably going to say, you know, you can't take your steed through here. Okay, you know, you can summon it when you want it, and maybe sometimes you have to unsummon it, but we're going to typically do, I think, or at least I would do a fiendish. We're going to be a fiend-packed warlock, so a fiend-packed steed is going to be good. You could make that like a dire wolf with red eyes. You could make it a hellhound. You could make it a nightmare and have some kind of, you know, toxic-looking horse. Yeah. So, or you could make it a combination of a snake and a horse. Whatever you want. It's your mount. It's your imagination. But I would select Fiend because it goes with the build. And Fiend gets an attack and again can trigger this frightened condition. It might help us if we can't use darkness or smoke. The attack on this is equal to your spellcasting modifier. So here's another place where switching ourselves over to a charisma-based character is helping. Now our steed can attack using our charisma bonus, which is the best stat we have. Reach is 5 feet. The damage is equal to the level of your spell here. So if we upcast it, they do better damage. As we get back into taking warlock levels, that'll go up. We'll be able to upcast this eventually all the way to level 5, so we can take full advantage of high-level conjuration spells with our otherworldly steed. All right, so again, let's go out and take a look at what otherworldly steed looks like, because there's a particular thing that you have to pay attention. If you're going to use the steed in this party, I would define where my character is in the steed. It's large size, you are medium size. You could be in the middle. You're not locked to a square like you used to be. It's not snapped to square in D&D anymore. But there is an advantage for us being in a certain corner of our steed. When we're in the darkness, we want all characters to be close together, and we want them to be within 10 feet for our aura that we're going to have next level. If we want to ride the steed and it's large size and we put ourselves in the middle, one of our characters here is not going to be within 10 feet. Or, you know, you have to use clever measuring rules to say that they're within 10 feet. If you put yourself in the corner of your steed, it provides 10 feet for everybody easily. And also, if something charges into the darkness, it's going to encounter your steed squares in some cases before it encounters your square. If it attacks your steed and does 30 damage and kills your mount, that's damage that nobody in the party had to take. Your steed is an ally, so you can provide retribution. If somebody comes in and kills your nightmare, you can dish the damage right back to them. Why not? Fun stuff. Interesting little synergies that you can do. But, you know, it's worth defining your position on the mount, just to clarify in case your group is into the whole tactical combat business. Second level spells, we're definitely going to take Lesser Restoration. When we need it, that's pretty good. Here you see Shining Smite. This is the one I was talking about. Takes 2d6 radiant damage until the spell ends. The target sheds bright light. This is a concentration spell and can prevent things from becoming invisible. We have Tremor Sense, Blind Sight. We're often going to know where invisible things are anyway. It's not really going to matter. And since this specifically sheds bright light within a 5-foot radius, darkness would cancel the spell. So be careful if you want to modify this character or use it for your own use. Those kinds of things don't work within darkness. Prayer of Healing is the reason why we're here on second level spells. This is so good for the party. Up to 5 creatures of your choice who remain within range for the spell's entire casting duration benefit from a short rest. So you can walk and talk. You get all the benefits of a short rest. It takes 10 minutes, regain an extra 2d8 hit points. You trigger your entertainer feature. You give proficiency bonus characters the heroic inspiration. You reset your warlock's pack slots because that is a feature of a short rest. You get all these benefits for 10 minutes and you can be moving. The only requirement is that things stay within range. So walk and talk, get to your next fight, restore 2d8 hit points, let your whole party do short rest things. It's very powerful, but you can't use it again until you take a long rest. So this is really a once per day kind of thing. But for those one time per day when it works, boy, it really works. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that. Or let's say it's a very efficient optimization for the character, I guess is a better way of putting it. We'll upgrade here to a shield +2. It's a rare item. It's the first rare item for the character here. And I think it's fair. We could do armor +1 also, but I think upgrading to a shield +2 makes sense. That gives us an armor of 23. And again, it doesn't matter if we have a shield and a quarterstaff because we have the Warcaster feat. And we can do those spells regardless. Character level 8, Paladin level 6. We're finally here. We've arrived at the Aura of Protection, 10-foot emanation that originates from you. You and allies within the area gain a bonus equal to your charisma modifier. That's fantastic. What we're going to do here, because we're multi-classing and we're a little bit behind in where we could be, we're going to want our charisma to be maxed out. When we get this aura, we want to give the whole party a +5 bonus. We're a crafter, and we easily could have crafted an Ioun Stone of Leadership by now. So here we go. Level 8 character level, we're going to add our first very rare item and give ourselves +2 charisma with an Ioun Stone of Leadership. We go out to the character sheet. You can see here we're going to add the Ioun Stone and attune it and equip it. And that's going to bring our charisma up to a +5. Look at these saving throws now. Dexterity, which we don't have proficiency in, and we've never put any effort. We've got a +6 to our dex, +8 to our constitution. Now we're not failing any normal concentration checks. If we get hit for 50 damage and have to make a DC 25 check, we're probably in trouble. But for normal DC 10 checks, we have a +8. And with the Bless spell running, that is an auto succeed on every base 10 concentration check. Charisma is a whopping +14. There's not many charisma saving throws in the game, but that's usually spells like Banishment and Possession. And when you get hit by those spells, having a +14 to your save is going to be fantastic. You're going to love having it. And those things are just not going to happen. Wisdom save +9, really, really good for this character. So we're not falling asleep ever because we're an elf. We're resisting all these effects. We've got really good stats. Now when I look at this, I don't see the bonus for the cloak showing up anymore. I see the Cloak of Protection attuned, but I'm not sure if the stat's applying. So I remove it, and you can see that as soon as I remove it, the saves did drop. So even though it's not listed in the little short list of stuff over there, it is being properly applied. So that they stack, and now we can give the whole party +5 to their saves too. It's not just us, it's everybody within a 10-foot emanation. Let's go back and take a look at how this character is going to perform at level 8. Out of combat, we have that Prayer of Healing, we have these Inspiration, 3 people, we can inspire 3 people now every long and short rest, so commonly we'll have most of the group with a heroic inspiration at some point during the day. Even people that use it up can get it back later potentially. And as our proficiency bonus goes up, we'll be able to inspire more and more people. Out of combat, we're mostly moral support and social setting stuff. That +5 to our persuasion check makes us the character that's most often going to want to make that. Prajar is the face of the group, but when it comes right down to that final persuasion, your redemption paladin is going to be the man for the job. Bless first in combat, True Strike at range. We have 2 Eldritch Blasts, but we don't have Agonizing Blast, so one shot from a True Strike is about the same as 2 Eldritch Blast, and it's all bad. You don't really want to be making ranged attacks, but we don't want to leave the group either, so we're just, doing lame damage while we wait for stuff to come to us. Once things get in melee range, we're going to do Searing Smite on anything that's not going to die in one hit. We might just do the normal Paladin Smite on anything that we just want to do extra damage for that specific round and try to get a kill. We have this Rebuke the Violent as a reaction. We can punish anything within 30 feet that gets a big hit like a crit. We have Hellish Rebuke if we want to. We have True Strike for an opportunity attack. And remember, we're going to upcast Bless using second level Paladin spell slots. We're going to use that when possible. We could still use Warlock pack slots at level 1 for Bless after we've used our first level 2 slot. And then eventually, within a couple levels, we're going to have second level Warlock spells and always cast Bless at second level. But use your spell slots wisely. Remember that topple is optional. If we're operating in darkness, something comes in, it's in close combat. There are times when you're going to want to topple it. You're going to want to knock it prone. But remember that ranged attackers and spellcasters that cast spells at range, like Eldritch Blast, they're going to have disadvantage against the prone target in spite of all of the stuff with darkness and all of that. If it's laying on the ground, you still have disadvantage. So topple is optional. Don't just prone everything because you can. Taking hits at level 8, we're feeling really good as a tank. Our armor class is high. Our saves are fantastic. They're as good as you can have at this level almost. This character is very broad. I haven't optimized it for the most damage or the best tank, but it's a good tank. It's good damage. It's a crafting character. It's really a broad-based character to play the entire game. The group is vulnerable to area of effect, and now by level 8, we've prevented that from being too much of a hindrance by making sure that the party will, for the most part, make their saves if they get targeted by these area of effect features. Ioun Stone of Leadership gets us to 20 Charisma. That allows us to multi-class back into Warlock. We'll get that Charisma within a few levels, but for those 4 levels where we, still have to take before we get our next feat, we like to have our Charisma, especially if you're playing in a campaign. You want that Charisma for the whole time. And you're a crafter, you can use the Ioun Stone, and then once you're done using it, you can give it to a different character or sell it and recover the value of the stone, at least in part. So this character is low gear requirements. We've got a +1 quarterstaff. We work on our armor. Nothing that's in our items is really needed. If the GM won't give you an Ioun Stone, it's fine. It's a +4 bonus instead of a +5. It's not going to hurt the character that much. So we're trying to make the character look as good as possible, but if your GM doesn't allow it, it's whatever. It's a really low gear character. You could sacrifice your need for gear to just help gear other characters that need items worse than you. So with that in mind, Daylunn's going to basically use crafting to help other people craft what they need. Craft his Ioun Stone, but other than that, mostly helping others. Level 8 in combat. Let's look at our damage. If we have Obscurement and Bless, we're doing the Eldritch Blast without Agonizing Blast. We're averaging 8 damage. It's pretty awful. With a short bow, same kind of thing. We do the math, it comes out to about 8 damage. If we look at the damage in melee, we've got this quarterstaff +1, 2 strikes per attack, 1d6 plus a Searing Smite that kind of guarantees a d6 and an extra d6. So that's 2d6 on top for the burn. So that would be a 26 damage round with an 84% chance to hit average armor class. That's going to put us at 17 average damage per round, 23 with a level 1 smite, 29 with a level 2 smite, with 7 ongoing damage for that level 2 smite. So at level 8, this damage is nothing to write home about. It's probably even, I would say, below average at this point, unless you're using your smite. If you're using your smite, you're probably at average. But the character's providing the aura of protection. That's your job. You're blessing, you're providing the aura of protection, and that's more benefit to your group than the damage. And it's in the off rounds, using that retribution damage that you've got, and helping your party survive with your reactions that's so powerful. Damage is mediocre, but the character, again, is built to tank, built to be broad-based. And with the next couple levels, we're really going to take our tanking abilities over the top. We're going to have a great synergy. It's going to be awesome. Role-playing at level 8. We've got this scenario where the dwellers have found out that these well-equipped mercenaries are setting up an ambush, so they're going to ambush them before they could be ambushed. Prajar whispers a prayer, taps his hammer, purges light from the area. You're now in the darkness spell. Daylunn hums an inspirational tune. Again, we bless the party. We've got this aura of protection. Just being near Daylunn is going to bring focus and a heightened sense of awareness to the party, where it's going to be much harder for them to be harmed by spells or effects. Great. Battle goes well for a moment, but the bandits have a strong magic user. He dispels the darkness really quickly. The party is revealed. Daylunn just pulls out the bottle of smoke, pops it. Time to get in close. Let's go. The brigands are stumbling about. Daylunn's going to close his eyes. Blind sight, you can be blinded. He closes his eyes. He breathes in that smoke. Love it. Off he goes into the close combat. Blind sight within 10 feet. Advantage on his attacks, disadvantage for all the bandits. In this scenario, I wonder if one even gets away. Fantastic. When peace doesn't work, give him the heat. All right, level 9 to 14. We're going to take level 7 as Paladin to get the ability to take other characters' damage. Then we're going to beeline to level 14 just in Warlock. We're going to revisit the character at level 14, talk about it, and then finish it out to level 20. So let's take a look at how we would build this character going from level 8 up to level 14. First things first, let's take that 7th level of Paladin. That's going to give us this aura of the Guardian. Starting at 7th level, you can shield others at the cost of your own health. When a creature within 10 feet of you takes damage, and remember, everybody's staying within 10 feet of you to take advantage of the aura. Right, rest of the group, you're staying close, okay? So that means everybody, you take the damage instead of the creature taking it. The feature doesn't transfer any other effects, so if they take 20 damage and get grappled, they're still grappled. You just take the damage, and the damage can't be reduced in any way. However, that damage can, be mitigated by other skills and abilities that we have that I'll show you here in a minute. Spells here at level 7, we can pick up another spell. Warding Bond sounds good. Again, there might be a character that we want to Warding Bond. Similarly, Warding Bond is going to allow us to take half the damage that that character takes. It's not concentration, so we can cast it on a party member, and then we take half their damage. So now, even if we're not the ones taking the hit, we can choose to use a reaction to take the damage, or we can cast Warding Bond on a character and just automatically take half the damage, and they have resistance to the damage, so they'll also take half the damage. And in that way, we're going to be taking hit point damage for the party in almost any situation where things have come into melee. We're going to upgrade our armor here to plate +1. If that could be mithril plate +1 and get rid of our disadvantage on stealth, that would be fantastic. I don't know of a way to also make this mithril without making it a custom item, but for the ones I could pick off the list, we just made it that way. These saves are awesome. 13 charisma save, +7 con save. I noticed that it looks like the saves have gone down, so when we get back in here, we'll find out that one of our items became unattuned. Then we're going to go back to Warlock. So at level 3 Warlock, we're going to take the Fiend Pact. When you reduce an enemy to 0 hit points, you gain temporary hit points equal to your charisma modifier plus your Warlock level. And you also gain this benefit if somebody else reduces an enemy within 10 feet of you to 0 hit points. That at this level, that's going to be 8 temporary hit points. If you kill an enemy at any range, if you do an Eldritch Blast and do the last hit points on an enemy 120 feet away, this triggers and you get 8 temporary hit points. If any player kills a character within 10 feet of you, you can gain this ability. Now, everybody I think knows the bag of rats trick or bag of bugs, and where you say that these bugs are your enemy and you take out a cockroach and step on it, and that counts as a creature dying and you get your 8 temporary hit points. I think that's cheesy. I'm against it. I wouldn't allow it. But yeah, enemies are going to get killed within 10 feet of the group a lot of the time. So we're going to have this ability triggered often enough that it's going to be interesting for the character. Temporary hit points don't stack. If you gain temporary hit points, the problem is when you gain temporary hit points again from the same ability, you had 8, you get 8, you still have 8, they don't stack. Spells, I'm going to give this spell list a 7 out of 10, maybe even an 8 out of 10. We got Fireball, Fire Shield, Wall of Fire, just incredibly useful spells that are going to be part of our kit here now that we're always going to have on our spell list. So that's fantastic. When you reduce an enemy to 0 hit points, gain that temporary hit points. Let's combine that with our Aura of the Guardian, and that says we can take somebody else's damage. This ability now is going to allow us to make great use of these temporary hit points. We get the temporary hit points. If we take damage, we use them. If anybody else in the group takes damage, we take the damage for them, using up the temporary hit points. And in this way, we could get temporary hit points twice a turn and make use of them. Make use of them once when we take damage, make use of them one other time when somebody else takes damage. Those temporary hit points are going to be put to use in a very good way. And now you can see this character, soft taunt. There's no reason for it. Everything has disadvantage already because we're in darkness. If somebody else is taking the hits, we take their damage. We make good use of our temporary hit points. Man, this character's nice. Mirror Image, maybe in a big boss fight, we want Mirror Image if we're fighting some dragon or some massive character that we're afraid to get hit multiple times in the same round. Put the Mirror Image up, make that a little bit harder. For items at this level, we're going to upgrade our Quarterstaff now here at level 10, and we're going to take the Quarterstaff of the Acrobat. We're also going to upgrade our shield to a shield +2. Quarterstaff of the Acrobat is only ever a +2 weapon, and this is our final form weapon for the game. So we're going to have it now, we're going to have it forever. We're not going to upgrade to a +3 weapon because this is going to be our trademark. It comes together. We're an Acrobat, we're an Entertainer, we've now got the Staff of the Acrobat. Let's go. +2 bonus to attack rolls and damage. So that's nice, we're upgrading to a +2 weapon. While we're holding it, we can extend it to make it long, we can shrink it down to make it small. When it's a 10-foot pole, we get advantage on our dexterity acrobatics checks, that's nice. When it's in Quarterstaff form, we have this ability that's like a mini shield effect. We can get +5 to our armor class to avoid a hit. But in this case, it only avoids one single attack. It's there and then it's gone. But still, if there's a particular hit that we don't want to take, it allows us to get that +5 AC. And that's once per short rest, so we can do it multiple times per day if we get short rests in between. And it's also a ranged weapon, so it has the thrown property with a range of 30 feet and a long range of 120. Immediately after we make a ranged attack with it, it flies back to our hand. So the definition of Smite says you have to hit with a melee weapon. When you throw a weapon, it stays a melee weapon. It doesn't become a ranged weapon when you throw it. Therefore, you can throw this Quarterstaff and use Smite. Pranjara or other characters in the group might be using push effects. They might push things out of the darkness. You don't want to have to run out of the darkness in order to do your melee attacks. So in this case, if they're a little bit away from you, you can just chuck the staff out as a thrown weapon up to 30 feet and hit things that are out of range and still use your smites. It's pretty awesome, and that's why it's going to be our trademark weapon for the rest of our career. All right. So we've got Quarterstaff of the Acrobat. Our armor class is up to 24. Our saves are looking really good. Let's keep going, and let's take this character up to level 14. So let's dump a bunch of Warlock levels in here and see what's going to happen. Okay, so 7 levels of Warlock will take us to Paladin 7, Warlock 7, and that's going to increase our spell slots up to a total of 4th level packed slots, and we're going to get a bunch more invocations. Now, for our invocations, we're going to have to take Thirsting Blade. That gives us an extra attack. It doesn't stack with the Paladin extra attack, so we do want to take Life Drinker, and we're going to take 12 total levels of Warlock, and we want to be able to make those 3 attacks per turn ultimately. So we're going to have to take Thirsting Blade here just to get the other prerequisites later. You're able to change out your invocations, so if you're playing in a campaign, you could pick a different invocation here and then take Thirsting Blade when you need it. But that's why we're picking it on this build. It's also where we would pick up Agonizing Blast and Repelling Blast and join the rest of the group in having good Warlock cantrips. Ability score improvement at 4th level, we're going to be able to take a feat. We can take just the ability score improvement feat and grab a couple ticks of charisma again, and that's going to take us up to a natural 20 on charisma. It's going to free up that Ioun Stone slot, and we're going to trade it out for a different Ioun Stone. Dark One's Own Luck, you can call on your Fiendish Patron when you make an ability check or a saving throw. You can use this feature to add a d10 to the roll. So in the rare case that you do fail a save, you can see the roll, know that you're close, and roll an extra d10 on top of it. You can do that after seeing the roll, but before any of the results occur. So effects like this are pretty powerful. Use it a number of times a day equal to your charisma modifier, which is 5. But use it no more than once per roll, resets in a long rest. The likelihood that we're going to fail a save is low, and now even if we do, we could just add a d10 to it and probably make it. So for that Ioun Stone, we're going to add the Ioun Stone of Mastery. This is going to increase our proficiency by 1. Proficiency is your to-hit rolls, your saves that you're proficient in, your skills that you're proficient in, your spellcasting DC that you're needing for Searing Smite with this character. So much stuff. So we're going to take our shield up to +3 here. Again, just working up the armor class as we go up. We're level 14 now, so I don't think it's unreasonable. And that Ioun Stone of Mastery will go instead of the Ioun Stone of Leadership. So if you take a look at the character at level 14, we're up to 25 armor class. Here we've got +5 on our score, proficiency bonus of +5. Let's go into our inventory and let's attune that Ioun Stone of Leadership and watch what kind of difference it makes in our character sheet here. So click on it, attune it, and now you can see we've gone up to +6 on our Mastery. We also somehow lost attunement on our quarterstaff, so let's reattune that. And now we're +13 to hit with our staff. Our saves are up to +8 on con, +17 on charisma, +12 on wisdom. Armor class is 25, 109 hit points. So level 14 in combat, we're still going to be blessing the party first. Somebody else casts Darkness, we cast Bless, we make things come to us. Eldritch Blast at long range. At mid-range, we're going to throw the quarterstaff. Sequence of events. Monster comes in. Pranjara pushes it away. The archer potentially puts a slow effect on it from their weapon. We throw the quarterstaff, knock it prone with Topple. Now the character has been pushed away, knocked prone, slowed down. Maybe even if they stand up, they can't get back to the party. Some pretty cool things we can do here. And we can just fling the staff from the safety of Obscurement within the darkness or the smoke. For bind fighting against medium-sized things, you don't even have to get close to them now. As long as you're within 10 feet, you can throw the quarterstaff. At short range within blind sight, a lot of fun stuff you can do. At close range, we're going to smash and smite. With the gimmick that we have with this character, the tactic we're going to use, gain temporary hit points whenever things die or whenever we get a kill. Use those temporary hit points to soak other people's damage, punish enemies that get big hits, and then use True Strike with our attacks of opportunity. If we look at the damage for this character, quarterstaff, 2 attacks, 21 damage per round, 79% to hit average armor class with this character at this level, 17 average damage, 23 with a level 1 smite, with 3.5 ongoing damage, 29 if we do level 2 smite, 35 with a level 3 smite, 41 with a level 4 smite. Let's look at how that damage stacks, just to give you an idea of how good this can be. So round 1, we're going to cast Bless, right? We're always going to cast Bless first. But we do our first smite, we're going to do 41 damage that round on average. Save DC for this character is 21, which is 5 charisma, plus 6. Remember, we have the boosted proficiency. Round 2, we're going to do that smite again. We're going to do another 41 average damage, but we still got 14 ongoing damage if they didn't make their save. So now our damage is up to 55 for that round. Round 3, we've used our 2 4th level pack slots, and now we're using a 2nd level smite. And that's going to give us another 28 ongoing. So that round we're doing 60 damage. Round 4, let's say the character needs to do something different entirely. There's a party member that needs healing. We got to lay on hands. We got to use a spell, skill, ability for something else. Pop the cork on the Eversmoking bottle, whatever it is. The creature's still going to take up to 35 damage for all the smite effects they haven't saved against. So they're burning even if we're not attacking. So it's a pretty interesting thing. Creatures that fly away, they're still going to burn to the smite. Creatures that try to burrow and get away, things that try to run away and get help from down a tunnel. If you've got this burn effect on them, they're just going to burn down on the way out. Prajar made a big deal about cultists. Unfortunately, when you attack the cultists, you find out they've got stone dragon allies. The stone dragons are burrowing, popping up out of the ground, trying to kill the party. Whistler gets a big chomp. Daylunn takes the damage, fights for a moment to catch his breath. He signs to Zarna. Again, they're in darkness. They use sign language. And I guess I'm 21, right? 21? Okay, anyway, so they're using sign language, and the next time the dragon pops up, Zarna's going to use the reduce spell, and Daylunn's going to knock it down. There's fun little interactions you can do like this. You can only topple things of large size or smaller, and maybe this dragon is huge. So the dragon pops out, you reduce the size, which reduces its damage and a bunch of stuff like that. But then Daylunn takes his ready to action and topples it. If that's successful, the character becomes prone, has to use half of its movement to stand up. If it's already used up half of its movement to get to where it is to attack, it's stuck. It either, stands up and just sits there, or if it's used more than half of its movement, it can't even stand up, and it's just there and prone. So even against huge enemies, this group is going to have tactics: reduce the size, minimize the threat. Daylunn says, you know what? Let the other characters in the party deal with the far threats. It's time to make this dragon burn. Let's go. All right, so for level 15 to 20, I love this mechanic where you can, if you are smart about how you build your character, you can end up with an epic boon at 19 and an epic boon at 20. We've parked this character at level 7 Paladin. We can take it up to 12 Warlock for level 19, and then hit level 20 as a level 8 Paladin and get 2 epic boon feats. I love doing that. The boon of fate is really good, so we're going to take that, and probably the boon of recovery. And you could pick other boons if you wanted to. For example, if you're doing this character in a level 21 shot, pick what you like. But I like those particular ones, and I'll show you why. So here we'll take that Warlock all the way up to 12. And with invocations, we're going to finish this out with the Life Drinker invocation. It gives us an extra d6 damage once per round and the ability to heal ourselves off the Life Drinker effect. So it's okay. And then Devouring Blade gets us a 3rd attack per round, which, again, for a level 21 shot, it's nice to have that 3rd attack. For our level 8 feat, we would have taken a Resilient Constitution and make Constitution a proficient save. Fiendish Resilience, we'll just take it to fire because that's our character, so might as well stick with that for role-playing. Pick something else if you'd rather have a different element. For the 6th level of Mystic Arcanum, I like True Sight for this character. True Seeing, just if there's a guest character that's with you, you could take that character along, give them True Sight so they can see in the dark. Something like that. Boon of Recovery lets you do Last Stand, so once per day when you get hit, drop to 0 hit points. You instead drop to 1 hit point, recover half your health. It gives you a bunch of D10s that you can use to heal yourself. So now you have healing spells, skills, and abilities. You have recovery features. You have also now a pool of D10s that you can recover. And if you ever do get reduced to 0 hit points once per day, you can avoid that. Spells, you might want to take Fly for situational stuff. Dimension Door to occasionally teleport where you don't belong. Banishment's a good spell. Of course, we like Synaptic Static as one of our trademark things. We could take Teleportation Circle. These things aren't critical to the Paladin build because typically we're going to be upcasting our Steed, upcasting our Searing Smites, upcasting our Bless if we really needed to include everybody in the party, things like that. So the amount of times that we're going to use these spell slots for something else is limited. For ability scores here with our Paladin 8, this is where I look at some other stuff. We look at Boon of Fortitude and some other stuff. And then I find this Boon of Fate, and I'm like, man, this fits with this character perfectly. I really wasn't even looking at that as something I would do for the character. But take a look. When you or another creature within 60 feet succeeds or fails on a test, you can roll 2d4 and add it as a bonus or penalty. Once you use it, you can't use it again until you roll initiative or finish a short or long rest. So it's available every combat that you roll initiative, every short rest, every long rest. And this now, if you fail, you've got a skill and ability that's going to let you add to your failed check and almost guaranteed succeed on any saving throw you want. And now, once per combat, you can help an ally succeed for sure as well. So I like it. It's also going to let us boost our charisma by 1, and that's going to put us at 22 charisma for the character. So at level 20, we will have a +6 to our score, +6 to our aura of protection. So just better and better the further we go. So plate +3 to finish the character out. Max out the armor class with +3 armor and +3 shield, as well as that quarterstaff of the acrobat still, Ioun Stone of Mastery still. And that finishes the character here at level 20. So let's take a look at some of the important stats. Our quarterstaff is +15 to hit, which is plenty to hit almost anything in the game at this level. So we'll have good chances to hit, we'll have good damage, we'll have lots of everything we want. Our armor class is at 27, hit points at 152. Our con save is +16, so if we're asked to make a DC 20 con save and we've got Bless up and running, we've got about a 1% chance to fail that. If we're asked to make a DC 22 charisma check, charisma save, it's an auto succeed. The DM says make a DC 22 charisma save or get possessed. You don't even have to roll the dice. Pretty strong. Quarterstaff gives us 5 AC whenever we need it once per short rest. We have the reaction to absorb damage for other people. Here, if we get those temporary hit points, when we gain those, it's 18 temporary hit points per kill. At these high levels, monsters are hitting for 50s and stuff like that. So if every time we get hit, we can shave 18 off of that with temporary hit points. That's pretty powerful. Our Searing Smites are now at this level doing tons of damage, right? So we've got all of these features and abilities. Level 5 Searing Smite would add 36 to our damage. We're already doing 35 for the rounds. So we've also got Life Drinker in there for an extra 3.5 damage on one of our attacks. So we're looking at 75 to 80 damage in a round, and then still 18 ongoing damage. So we could do like 2 rounds at 80, and then even when we have to drop our smite level, we would still be doing that burning damage on difficult enemies. That's going to wrap up Daylunn, the Peaceful Pyre. Please remember to hit that like button on the way out if you didn't hit it on the way in. Subscribe to the channel to see more of my stuff in the future. Leave comments down below if you think I've misinterpreted any of the rules or misrepresented how this character could be played, or if you've got ideas to play it better or make it better. Leave them down below. Let's learn together as a community and have fun with the game. For those who like this sort of thing, I'm going to also show some of the other images for Daylunn. I think this character made a lot of interesting images, and so I'll share that with you here at the end for fun for people who like it. So here we see Daylunn with his early levels just looking tough in his heavy armor with his staff, and when he's using these smites and getting his wings, these are really cool images with some, fire effects. And all kinds of these images turned out looking good, I thought. Here we've got him with a demonic face behind him. Maybe that's the Wrathful Smite when he's scaring people and making them run away and be frightened. Here's some more devilish faces appearing behind him when he smites. Here's maroon armor with a little bit different look, and just kind of a flaming aura of wrathful vengeance for rebukes and hellish rebuke and all the features that we have to do damage back to enemies. Smiling in a pool of fire. I don't know. I thought a lot of these images turned out good. All right. Thank you all for watching. I will see you in the next adventure.